So today I'm going to bring you guys some fall book recommendations. Books that are set in the fall or just have a general fall vibe, and then also some spooky books for the spooky season that aren't too scary. I'm going to try to break this up by genre just to make it a little bit easier, and the first one is a fantasy series by Stephanie Garber, and a lot of you guys may have heard of this because it's been out for a couple years, but Caravel, Legendary, and Finale are the books in the series. And I'm not really sure if this book is set in the fall. I can't really remember because it was so long ago when I read it, but I feel like just the whole premise of the story just has a total fall vibe. It's very magical. The main character gets whisked off to an island where she has to play this total immersive game. Everyone on the island is playing it. There's different actors that are playing these different roles and just helping with the game, and it's just a really good time. It's a romantasy, and the writing is so good that it didn't feel like I was just reading a book. This book was like an experience. So I definitely think this is a top tier series, and if that sounds like your sort of thing, then you should definitely check it out. Next I have some middle grade recommendations. The first one is called The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer, and this book has been out for a while, but I just picked it up maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a mashup of all these fairy tales that are brought into a fairy tale world, and these two kids fall through a book into the fairy tale world, and it's just a really good, fun, sweet time that I think has a total fall vibe. Nothing says fall like a Cinderella story, and this is a retelling called Ellie and the Prince by J.M. Steingle, and I think this is geared more toward middle grade and lower high school age students. It's just a really sweet retelling where Cinderella works at a resort, and there's even a unicorn in it, and it's just a really, really fun tale. And now for some more fairy tale retellings. I think the best fall fairy tale retelling of all time is Cinderella because of the pumpkin. So I wanted to recommend The Traitor's Mask by Kenley Davidson, which is one of my favorite Cinderella retellings of all time. It's just so gripping, I couldn't put it down. And another fairy tale retelling with a more contemporary feel that I just found is called Cinderluna. It's by Marie Soleil, and it's just really, really sweet. The main characters are actually video gamers, but I promise you the book is not weird. It's actually really, really cute. And there is actually an entire fairy tale retelling series out there that is set in the fall, and I recently just read... You like the books? Yeah. And I recently just read Callie and the Pumpkin Seed, which is another Cinderella retelling, and it's so sweet and it's so cute. I highly recommend it. In fact, check out this whole series because I know all the authors write clean, sweet fairy tale retellings, and they're sure to be a good time. And last but not least, for the fairy tale retellings, I have a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling called Princess of the Midnight Ball, and this has a total fall vibe. I love the way it's told. It's written in this very classic fairy tale feel, and it has a little bit of spooky vibes too, so it's a lot of fun. For a cozy mystery recommendation, I have Apple Cider Sleigh, which is so much fun. This one is actually more toward the end of fall, Thanksgiving time period into Christmas, so if you kind of need like an in-between book where it's not really, it's like fall sort of ending and we're going into the winter season, this is the book for you. It has the coziest of cozy vibes because it takes place at an apple orchard, and the main character is trying to start her own cider shop, and it's just got all the sweet farm fall vibes. It's just really fun. The mystery is top tier, and it features 2 little cats. Now for the contemporary genre, The Friend Zone by Soraya Wilson. This book features a football player that is thoroughly placed in the friend zone, and there's a little bit of fake dating going on, sort of. I will say that it has some pretty intense makeout scenes, so if that's not your thing, then maybe this book isn't for you, but overall I really, really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and it's also featuring a football player and a ballerina, and they are very best friends. So it's a friends to more trope, and this one was a real page turner. I couldn't put it down. The chemistry just leaps off the page. So good. Total fall vibe. I highly recommend it. I will say for this one as well, there is some pretty intense makeout scenes where I thought, oh no, they're gonna go farther, and then they stopped. So it is clean, it is closed door, but it does get pretty close, I'm just warning you. Cole and Layla are just friends. This one is another friends to war trope. It's just funny because I didn't realize that I picked all these books that our friends to more until I actually started this video. It's a very sweet romance. It takes a little bit to kind of get going, but once you get to 30-40%, I couldn't put it down. It's just really sweet. The romantic tension and the buildup is just really, really well done. This one, I believe it doesn't have anything more than just some kissing in it. It's not too descriptive or anything like that. There is a one bed trope, but because they're such good friends, it's kind of like, it kind of starts off, they're like, oh my gosh, we're brother and sister, like, ew. So it's not, I don't know, it didn't feel weird in any way to me. It was more like a humorous thing, but I did want to let you know that that one is in there if that makes anybody feel uncomfortable. But overall, I found this book really, really charming and super sweet. And now for the spooky books that aren't too scary. The first one is a middle grade that I really, really enjoyed called Seraphina and the Black Cloak. It's by Robert Beatty, and this book is actually set at the Biltmore. And this book was such a good time that I really think they should make it into a movie. It just has the best storyline. It's about this girl that's kind of running around the Biltmore in the early 1900s, I believe. And some really spooky things are going on. Kids are disappearing. There's this guy walking around in a black cloak, and there's this whole mystery behind it. It was just enough spook that it wasn't giving me like nightmares. I was definitely intrigued, and it kept me turning the pages. For fairy tale retellings, I had Scarlet in the Dark Woods by Mary Meckham, which is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. And this is part of that series that I mentioned earlier where all the fairy tale retellings are set in the fall. This one is a lot of fun. It's kind of a dystopian, and it's set in a dark woods. I mean, like, it's not scary, but it is a little bit on the spookier side for a fairy tale retelling. So this one's also a lot of fun. Then I have a new series by Melanie Sellier called To Ride the Wind, and there's also To Steal the Sun. And the first one is the spookiest for sure. I was like, whoa, this is definitely different for Melanie Sellier book. It's a fairy tale retelling of East of the Sun, West of the Moon. And if you're anything like me, I had never even heard of this fairy tale before. So it was a lot of fun just getting to experience a completely new story. And there's definitely some interesting things to it that are a little bit creepy. Juniper Bean Resorts to Murder by Gracie Ruth Mitchell. This is kind of a cozy mystery / contemporary romance, and I feel like it's completely unique because not very many cozy mysteries have a good romance, and this one absolutely does, and it'll keep you on the edge of your seat trying to figure out like what's going on. It's definitely a good read. Now for some historical romance, The Secret of Pembroke Park by Julie Classen. I read this book many years ago, but there are some spooky things going on. This family just like up and left, and everything is kind of left the way it was the day they left, and nobody knows why or what happened, and there's just like some spooky things going on. So that one was really a good time. And then there's Shadows of Swanford Abbey, which is one of her newer books. I would say it's written in the last couple of years. This one's kind of like an Agatha Christie murder mystery feel, and there's a little bit of a ghost story to it. It takes place at this old abbey that was converted into a hotel, and there's this nun is like haunting the place. So it's just a lot of fun for this time of year. And last but not least, I have some Jamie Jo Wright books. I think Jamie Jo Wright is the queen of spooky, and I think her books are fun to read any time of year, but especially during this time. The first one I'm going to recommend is called The Reckoning at Gossamer Pond. This book was super creepy because there's this girl that works at a newspaper, and she keeps getting obituaries of people that haven't died yet, and then all of a sudden those people turn up dead. And so yeah, it's quite a mystery, like trying to figure out what's going on, and then she's like, am I gonna be next? I mean, very, very creepy book. So this book is spooky, but it always ends with a message of hope at the end because it is Christian fiction. It's Jamie Jo Wright, so you know it's always gonna be resolved, and there's always a good message behind it. Night Falls on Predicament Avenue. This book, top tier spooky for me. Honestly, it felt just like a classic ghost story, like somebody's haunting the place, what's going on, kind of a little bit of a murder mystery as well. I honestly could not, I listened to it on audiobook. I could not listen to this at night. I had to only listen to it during the day. So this was probably like as far as I'm gonna go as far as spooky, and I could just tell that like if I listened to it at night, I was probably gonna be like, looking around corners and maybe not able to sleep, and I just didn't want to do that. So maybe this book is really tame for you, but for me, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna listen to this during the day. But I was highly entertained by the story, and it did end with a message of hope, so that is why it's on this list. So that's all for my fall recommendations list. Did any of these books catch your eye? And let me know in the comments what your favorite things are about fall. Do you love pumpkin spice? Do you love the cinnamon candles? Let me know all the things. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again soon. Bye!